Yeah. Okay. So the thing is basic or primitive type data, primitive data types in C. So we are learning over here data types in C, and that also basic or primitive data types in C. So I'm making the columns. Here I'm writing type, then here size, and then here there will be range. So first one, int. Okay. So if I write int, if I write like this, int x. So this is what integer type of data. Okay. So by looking at this particular data type, the compiler will going to allocate certain memory space. Now remember one thing, if I write like this, then by default, compiler understand it, by default compiler understand it as signed data, signed int x. Okay. So whether you write sign before this integer or not, it is by default signed. You can also declare like the sign int x, or you can simply write int x. So both int x and signed int x are same. Okay, it's same. So I'll write that one also over here. Sign now it will allocate 2 bytes of memory. Okay. So I'm not talking about 64-bit. On 64-bit, it will allocate 4 bytes of memory. So let's consider, see, we have to take certain thing, right? So let's say we are considering integer will take 2 bytes on 32-bit. So I'm saying that 2 bytes of memory it will allocate. 2 bytes. Now yesterday I told you what do you mean by byte. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. Okay, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. What do you mean by bits? I told you that computer only understand binary language. So binary language is what? It's a stream of zeros and ones. Okay, whatever programs we want to write, we have to write in terms of zeros and ones. So only two symbols are there. By symbols, two symbols are there, 0 and 1. That's why this is what binary language. So I'm talking about these bits. For example, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, these are total 8 bits. So I'm talking about these bits. So 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. Now, if it will allocate 2 bytes, if it will allocate 2 bytes, so how many bits will be there? 1 byte is equal to 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So 2 bytes will be equal to 16 bits, right? 2 bytes will be equal to 16 bits. So what happens? Let me draw this. So this is 0, 1. I'm marking this, okay, bits places, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So like this, 14, 15, right? So from 0 to 15, total are what? 16 bits. 16 bits. So I'm just marking the bits position. Now, since this is a signed bit, I mean, this is signed integer, okay, signed integer. So always remember, in signed integer, the last bit, this is called the MSB bit, okay, and this is LSB. This is least significant bit. This is most significant bit. Okay. So I am talking about the last bit, that is at the 16th position. This bit is always reserved for sign purpose. Okay. So if this is 1, then the number is negative. If this is 0, then the number will be positive. Okay. So this last bit is reserved for sign purpose. So always remember, the last bit is reserved for sign purpose in sign bit. Okay. So how many bits are remaining total? From 0 to 14. From 0 to 14 we can have for storage purpose. So from 0 to 14 means total 15 positions we have, right? 15 we have. Now we want to find out what will be the range of the numbers can be stored by this integer variable. Okay. So what will be the range of the numbers? So since we have 15, so what we will do, we will take 2 raised to 15. 2 raised to 15. So just let me know what is 2 raised to 15. All of it try to calculate. So it will be something around,
22768.
yeah. So remember, this is what from, I mean, it is a signed one. Okay. So the range is 2 raised to 15 is what? 32768. Okay. You will get 32768, 2 raised to 15. So the range will be 3 to minus 3 to 768 to plus 32767. Okay. So this will be the range. All of you got this? So since this is assigned integer, the range will be from minus 3 to 768. Why I have written over here 3 to 767? Because this is from 0 to 3 to 767. Okay. So that is total is what? 3 to 768. Right. So from minus 3 to 768 to plus 3 to 767. You can also write in this way, 3 to 768 to plus 32767. Okay, this is the range. So I'll just write the range over here. Okay, at this particular place. Minus 32768 to plus 32767. Okay. So just remember always how to calculate. What I did nothing. Integer requires 2 bytes of storage. Okay. So 2 bytes, that means total 16 bits will be there. And this is what integer you say, or you say signed integer, both are same. Signed is for the purpose of signed purpose. Okay. So the last bit, remember in the signed one, the last bit will be always reserved for the signed purpose. So if this is 1, this will be, the numbers will be negative. Okay. If this is 0, the numbers will be positive. So how many places are remaining? Now the 15 places are remaining. So what I did, I simply did 2 raised to 15. Okay, because I'm talking about the binary number, that's why I took 2. So 2 raised to 15 is what? It's coming 32768. So this can store minus number to plus number. So what I did, minus 32768 to plus 32767. So this will be the range for this particular integer variable. Any doubt in this? Anybody, if you have any doubt, please ask me. You can also write in the chat section if you don't want to, or if your mic is not working, or if you don't want to speak. So if you don't have any doubt, we can move ahead. Idea is you should understand how we are calculating this range, and so no need to remember it. Where to remember, I'll let you know. Okay. Okay, then move ahead. So for signed int also, I'll say it will require 2 bytes, and the range will be same, minus 3 to 768 to plus 3276767. Okay. Now I'll write over here unsigned int. Unsigned, unsigned int. Unsigned int also requires 2 bytes. 2 bytes. So unsigned means sign is not there. Okay. Unsigned int means what? Signed is not there, and it requires 2 bytes. So here also I can represent in this way. So total 16 places are there. Now this 15th one, okay, so this 15th one will not be used for, or this will not be reserved for sign purpose. Why? Because the type is what? Unsigned. Type is what now? Unsigned int. Okay, now it's unsigned. So this last bit will not be reserved for sign purpose. So how many total places are available? Now we have total 16 places, right? Now we have total 16 places. Okay, so now I have total 16 places. So this bit will not be reserved for, this bit will not be reserved for sign purpose. So what I can have, yeah. So 2 raised to, so that means 2 raised to total 16 will be available. Okay. So calculate 2 raised to 16. You will get 65536. Okay. 65536. Why I have done 2 raised to 16? Because this is unsigned in. So total 16 places will be available, right? Because last will not be reserved for sign purpose. So since I have 65536, so that means what will be the range? I can write 0 to 65535. Okay, 0 to 65535. Just what I did, I reduced one from here because I'm taking from 0. So for unsigned int, I can write over here, and if you see here, there is no negative numbers, right? I'm talking about unsigned int, which is not signed one. Okay, so only positive numbers I am considering over here. So 0 to 65535. So the range of this one will be 0 to 65535. Okay. Now next. Okay. Now I'll use the modifiers, two modifiers. Two modifiers we have seen, signed and int, signed and unsigned int. That is a sign type modifiers. Now I will use size type. So we are having short and we are having long. Okay. So here I'll write short int, all small letter, short int, and long int. So if this integer requires 2 bytes, so short int will do what? It will reduce the size, so it will become 1 byte, and this will become what? Long int will become 4 byte. Okay, it will take 4 byte of memory, and the short int will take 1 byte of memory. Now again, I have not written anything before this, so by default, so if you don't write anything by I mean the sign one, so by default this will be considered as signed int only. Okay, so this will be signed short int, this will be signed long int. Okay, please remember this. Now this is what integer, a short integer, so it's taking 1 byte. That means I am having 8 bits. Out of these 8 bits, the last bit will be reserved for signed purpose, because by default it's a signed one only. So how many places I'll be having? I'll be having 7. So 2 raised to 7 is what? 2 raised to 7 is what? 128. Okay. So 2 raised to 7 is 128. That means the range of this one will be what? Minus 128 to plus 127. Okay, minus 128 to plus 127. Then the next one is what? 4 byte long int, 4 byte, right? So 4 byte, that means what? How many bits? So 4 into 8, 32 bits, right? Out of this 32 bits, one will be reserved for signed purpose. So I'll be having what? 31 bits or 31 positions. So 2 raised to 31. Just let me know what is the 2 raised to 31. Put in the chat box 2 raised to 31. Yeah. Yes. That's it. I got. So I'm just copying that. 2147. 2147. 483648. 483648. Okay. So range will be minus 2147, 483 and 648 to plus 2147, 483, 647. Okay, so this will be range for long int. So all of you just see once again. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. What I did, simply I started with the integer, right? I told you that if you simply write int, by default compiler consider it as what? Signed integer. Okay, and if you write unsigned int, then this will be, we are talking about only positive numbers. So whether I'm taking int or signed int, it will require 2 bytes of memory. So if it requires 2 bytes of memory, how to calculate the range? Now the storage will going to change depending on the configuration of your machine. Okay, it will not remain the same. On 16-bit something different, 32-bit something different, 64-bit something different, but that doesn't matter. We need to understand the concept. Okay, and so if it requires 2 bytes of memory, so the idea is, if it is a signed bit, total 16 bits will be there, right? Because 2 bytes, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, so 2 byte equal to 16 bits. Out of that, the 1 bit will be reserved for the sign purpose, so total will be having 15. So what I did 2 raised to 15, and I got this 32768. So the range will be minus 327682 plus 32767. For the unsigned, it will require 2 bytes, but all will be there for these positive numbers, right? So no bit will be reserved for the sign purpose. So total 16 places will be available. So I did 2 raised to 16. I got 65536. So that means what? 0 to 65535. Okay. Short int 1 byte, long int 4 byte. Now let's see about character type data. So I told you character type data, that means if simply we want to store like this, any letter, okay, any character, if we want to store. So it requires a char type data requires 1 byte. Okay, 1 byte, that is 8 bits. 1 byte, that is 8 bits. So here I'm making the column type char. So char type data requires 1 byte. And here also it's the same, right? The way integer is there. So if I don't mention anything, by default it is what, signed integer. Similarly here also, if I don't write anything, this is a signed char. Or I can also write like this, signed char. These both are same. Okay, these both are same. Then there is unsigned char. Here we don't have short and long. Okay, so for character we have char, signed char, and unsigned char. So now for this character, if it requires 1 byte, 1 byte, here also 1 byte. So if it is signed char, we are having total 8 bits. Out of that, the last bit, okay, it will be reserved for signed purpose. Okay, this will be reserved for signed purpose. So total will be available over here will be 7 bits. 2 raised to 7 is what? 128. Okay, so the range will be for this one, the char, the range will be what? Minus 128 to plus 127. Minus 128 to plus 127. Then the signed char, it's the same thing. Range is what? Minus 128 to plus 127. Now for unsigned char. So since this is unsigned char, there will be no space or no bit will be reserved for signed purpose. So all the available bits will be there, right? 8 bits. So I'll calculate this. 2 raised to 8. This is nothing but 256. So my range will be what? 0 to 255. 0 to 255. So this range will be what? 0 to 255. Okay. So this is for the character. If you have any doubt, please ask me. Anybody? Okay. So now to explain further, I'll take you to the book, and so you will have to remember that for the float and double, okay, because that requires the calculation of exponent and mantissa part and everything, right? So you just remember those that range only, okay, and that is used for the fractional purpose. So we have now the data type as what? Float, double. Okay, so let's see about this. Yeah. Okay. One more thing. In the signed int and unsigned int also, you can write long signed int, long unsigned int in that way. Or long int is nothing but the long signed int only, right? So this is long int. It means what? Signed long int only, right? So you can just see the representation is there on In the book it's there. This is page number 10. Data types is there. Okay, this book is what see in there, which I uploaded over there, so you can just see. Now we are talking about the fractional values which will be going to store, right? So for those data type, we can't store in the int kind of data type. So we have the float, and we have double, right? So for float, we require 4 bytes of memory, and for double, we require 8 bytes of memory, and we can attach long to double, so we will get 10 bytes of memory. Okay, so long double requires 10 bytes, double requires 8 bytes, float requires 4 bytes. Now how to remember the values? Just see here. So this is represented in terms of exponent form. Okay, so this is what 3.4 e raised to minus 38. So this float will require 3.4 e raised to minus 38 to 3.4 e raised to plus 38. If you just remember this particular value, you will get the second value. What you have to do, 3.4, you just make half. So this will become 1.7. And this 38 is there, so just need to replace 1 0 in between that. So this is 1.7 e raised to minus 308 to 1.7 e raised to 308. Okay, so for float, we are having this range 3.4 e raised to minus 38 to 3.4 e raised to plus 38. For double, we have 1.7. I just made it, this is as half, but e raised to minus 308. Okay, because this is 8 bytes, so it will cover a more longer range. So 1.7 e raised to minus 308 to 1.7 plus e raised to 308. And the long double is having max range, so this will be again this value and this value is same only. So 3.4 over here, 3.4 over here, so 3.4 e raised to minus 4932 to plus 4932, and this is 1.1. Okay, there is one change, this is 1.1. So for long double, we have 3.4 e raised to minus 4932 to 1.1 e raised to plus 4932. So these three values you will have to remember. Only if you can remember this one, first one, you can write the second one also, and even the third one also, because that is the same as the first one. Only thing the last one is what, 1.1, just remember. And the powers, this is 38, this is 308, and the last one is 493. So in the exam, it can be asked that write a short note on data types. Okay, so write a short note on data types. You can just explain these primitive data types, right? Just make the table and show how you can calculate it, 1 or 2 examples of integer char, and then put this particular table in a proper format. That's it. So we'll get the full marks. Okay, you can also explain there are 2 types of qualifiers or modifiers. One is size modifier, second is sign modifier. These are also called as qualifiers. Okay, so size one is short long, sign one is signed and unsigned. Now apart from this, there are user defined data types also. Okay, user defined data types. So what do you mean by user defined data types? So the programmers, okay, whichever data type is created by the programmer, that data type is called as what, user defined data type. So these data types will be created by programmers. For example, the programmer can create a struct type data, so struct type data, then enum type data, okay, then array kind of data. So all these data will be what, user defined data types. So depending on that, the size can be calculated, whether it's a struct type, enum type, or array type, and depending on how many elements are there. Okay, so based on that, the size can be calculated. So remember, apart from that basic primitive type data, there are also user defined data types which are created by the programmer only. So once we will go ahead and once we'll be writing the programs and all, we'll come across all these things. I mean, even the separate chapter is there based on this structure array. We will also see the example of enum when we'll do the programming. So this is about the data types. So let me show you all these things we have covered. Okay, so let me demonstrate you something, right, with a simple program. So we'll see simple hello world program, and one or two programs we will see, because we have just now saw what are different data types, and there only I will tell you how to take the inputs and output, right? So we will see that, and then after that we can go ahead with the operators. So for today's we'll going to see only the programs, two three programs. So let's see. Now for doing the programs, you will have to remember one thing, that the C language is a high level language, right? It's a high level language. So I told you that computer only understand what? Binary language, right? Computers only understand binary language. Now since C is a high level language, so if we write any code in C language, over here, right, for example, we write in English kind of letters, English words, okay, the program. So computer will not going to understand this particular language, because computer only understand binary language. We will require a tool which will convert this high level language, okay, this high level language to binary language. So for this purpose, this purpose we have the compiler. Compiler. Now what is the job of this compiler? Compiler takes whatever we have written, right, takes that and tries to convert to binary format or object code. Okay? So you can say object code, or you can also say the binary code, so that the computer can understand it. Compiler will also going to compile, and it will warn you, it will let you know that what different errors you are having in your program. And second thing, finally it will going to convert into a binary code. So once it will convert to binary code, then we can run the program, because then the computer will going to understand. So remember this, for high level languages, we always have the compiler, right, which can convert those high level language to binary language. So just remember this, what do you mean by compiler? Compiler is a tool which is going to convert high level language to the binary language. So for our C language, we also need a compiler, which we will be writing the program, but we require the compiler, which will going to convert this high level language to low level language. So for demonstration purpose, I am having the software like Turbo C, right? So we can do the code on Turbo C also, and but that software we will have to install it. But if you don't have that particular software, don't worry. We have lots of online compilers also, which will perform the same task. So one of the compiler is, all of you can note this. This link I am giving you. I'll demonstrate in both. Okay. There is one online compiler, this one. You can open this. Wait, there is a star has come. I don't know from where. Okay, you can use this particular link, second link. Yeah. So it's an online compiler, and we can perform the code over there. So if you see, it will look like this. From here, you can change the color, right? So this will be night mode light. So from here, you can change the color. So once if this page will open, this code will already will be there. Okay, I mean this thing you can see, so it will come directly because in almost all the program this will be going, this will be there only. So before writing the program, what I can do, I can just explain you what are the things which you will require in each and every program, and then we will go over there and we can write the code. So for example, if you write any code, first you will write like this: hash include study io dot h, then void main, and in this whatever you want to write. For example, I want to print hello world on the screen. So I am writing printf hello world. Printf hello world. Now let me explain you each and everything in this particular thing. So we have written. So remember this void main. This main is a function. So this is a function from where the execution of the your C language C program will start. Okay. So this is the main function. From here your execution will start. Now in the main function, why this is a function, always remember, if I've written anything and after that if I put this kind of parentheses, so that will be a function. So for example, here I've written main and after that this parenthesis is there. So this is what a function. Okay, main function. So execution will start from here. Now inside this I've written one printf function. This is also written in the parenthesis, but I want to display on the screen hello world. Okay, so and this is a string form, so you can write in double quotes, right? So what I've written in the printf in double quotes, I've written hello world, and then each and every statement in the C language must terminate with this semicolon. Okay, at the end you must terminate the statement with the semicolon. Don't forget this. So every statement in the C language must terminate with a semicolon. Semicolon. So this printf is also a function to print on the screen. To print on the screen. Okay. This main is a function. Main is also a function. Execution will begin from here. Okay. Now then, what is this hash include study io.h? So what happens? This printf is there for printing on the screen, but computer will not understand this printf is for what purpose. For example, suppose we are reading any English article and we are not understanding any word, right? So if there is any difficult word is coming, so what we do, we normally refer a dictionary where we can find out the meaning of those particular words. In a similar way, if you don't write this particular line, okay, and if you write simply this one, then the computer will not going to understand what do you mean by printf. Okay, so this printf is nothing but for printing on the screen. Its definition is there inside this study io.h. This is a header file. This is called as what? Header file. This is what? Study io.h. io.h. This is a standard input output header file. Standard input output header file. Okay, standard input output header file. So whatever things, if you want to take the input or if you want to display the output, you will have to include this header file. This library you will have to include. Okay, so and this is how it is included by writing hash include, and this is written on the top of the program. So hash include, and in the angular bracket whatever header files you are including, you can write in the angular bracket. Okay, which are already there, which are already present. Okay, so those you can include by angular sign. If you are making your own header file, that also you can include, that we can include in the double quotes like this. Okay, in the double quotes, but this is what it's already there in build. So hash include study I.h. Remember study I.h is what? A header file, standard input output header file, which is used for this printf and scanf function. Printf is used for printing on the on the screen, and scanf function we will see. Scanf function used for taking the inputs from the user. The execution of the program starts from the main function. Okay, and the structure will always remain like this. No matter which program we are writing, these things will be going to come. A hash includes study I.h, void main, bracket, curly brace, and then closing of the curly brace. So in few compilers, you will see that in place of void, they may write like this. So the program can also be written like this: hash include study io.h int main. Okay, int main. So in place of void, I've written in, and here I am writing printf. I just want to print welcome on the screen. Okay, I've closed the bracket. So remember, what will be the difference in this? What will be the difference in this? That in place of void over here, I have written what? Int, right? So remember this, if you are writing any data type before the function, that means that function will perform certain kind of functions or certain kind of task, and at the end it will going to return that kind of value. Okay, it will going to return that kind of value. So here I have written integer. So at the end the function will going to return certain integer value. Let's say I am returning a 0 or I am returning a 1, some value I will return. So in the main function, if I write before main, if I am writing integer, so main function after performing the task, it will going to return certain integer value. This is there for the purpose of the operating system, so that the operating system will understand that it has scheduled the compiler to execute certain code, and then once the execution of the code is over, so this main function can let know to the operating system that my task is over. Then operating system will understand, okay, this procedure task is over, then it can schedule some other procedure, right? So this int is there for that particular purpose. If you're writing integer or float or anything before any function, then that kind of value will be returned. If you don't write, if you don't write this int before this particular main, if you are writing void, then you don't have to return any value. Okay, you don't have to return any value. So here if you see in this particular code, I have not written any value because I had written void. So void, you just remember, void means then return type is nothing. Okay, so you don't have to return anything. So after the function will perform the task, it will not going to return any kind of value. So you can have void, you can have integers. So few compilers, they prefer int main wala structure, and few will prefer this void main structure. So if you're writing void main, don't write return statement. If you're writing int main, then return certain value at the end. So for example, once you will start this particular compiler, if you see here, this it's taking int main and it's returning 0 value by itself only, and this line is included, that is hash include study r.h. So this is what a header file, standard output header file. Now once you will open this particular compiler, this code will come. What we can do, we can just type printf over here. Printf, let's say suppose I want to display hello world. Hello world. So I've written this. We have to run this particular code. Okay, so once we will run this code, it will first compile this compiler, C online compiler. This will going to first compile the code, and if you see here, I have written in the English kind of words. Okay, entire code. So this will compile and it will produce the binary code, and that will be executed. Okay, that will be executed. So I'll run this. If you see here, the output is what? Hello world. Okay, the output is hello world. Similarly, if I want to write here printf welcome. Okay, So I've written one more statement. Let me execute this. If you see here, hello world is there, and then welcome is also coming. Okay, but both are touching each other. So I don't want that. I want in one line hello world, in the another line I want welcome. So what I'll do before starting of this, because this I want in the next line, so I will say like this slash n. Okay, if you see in the pink color, I've written slash n. So this slash n is for next line. Okay, this is called as what escape sequence. We'll study all those escape sequences, but it's always better to demonstrate the program in that only, to explain you so that you will remember. So if I write this slash and let's see what will happen. Now hello world is coming in one line, and then the welcome is coming in the next line. Okay, why? Because I have written here slash. Suppose I want to display the same line but with some space. So what I can do, I can also write in this way. Okay, so let me comment this. For example, I want to comment this. Comment means what? If I put like this, double slash before this, okay, so this line will not be executed at all. Let me run this and show you. Now see, only hello world is coming, so this line is executed, but this line is ignored by the compiler. So once we'll write in this kind of starting a line with this slash, okay, so this is called as what? Comment. It is called as what? Comment. Why the comments are there? For example, suppose I want to describe this particular line, so I will write like uh, it's for printing on the screen. It's for printing on the screen. So suppose I want to describe this one, and input output header file, standard input output header file. Okay, main function, execution begins here. Okay, so I can write the comments to describe certain thing, right, to elaborate certain thing. Why these comments are very very important? Just try to understand this. For example, let's say now here only 3 lines of code are there, right? But once we'll go in the industry, you'll be writing 1,000 lines of code. Okay, so suppose as a programmer today I have written 1,000 lines of code, right? So let me explain over here. So if I have written 1,000 lines of code, okay, like this, and I have not written even a single comment. Okay, I have not written even a single comment. Now today I understand, because I'm in the flow, I'm writing the code, so I understand each and every stuff, right? For what purpose some particular variables are declared, for what purpose certain functions are declared, right? Everything I know today. But if I have not written any comment, and if I'll suppose I have completed my project, okay, my project is over, I submitted this particular project to my superiors. Now suppose I got they shifted me to some other project, right? Because what happens in the software industry, they always make a team leader will make the team, right? Team of, let's say, 5 people or 10 people like this, and then we can be a part of that particular team, or we can even be a team leader, right? And then we start doing the project. So let's say my this particular project is over, and now I went to some other team, right? And I'm doing some other project. So after 1 year, let's say, a new guy will come. Okay, a new guy will come, and he got assigned this particular project only, my old project, which I wrote, which I wrote the code 1 year back, and it has 1,000 lines of code. Okay, even more than that, but I had not written even single comment over there. Now this new guy A will try to open this particular file, and he will try to understand this code. Now, since not even a single comment is written over there, so it's very, very difficult for this particular guy to understand for what purpose you written which section of code, for what purpose you declare X, Y variables, right? This particular guy will cannot understand at all. Okay, he will require lots of effort, and probably in this particular process, what he will do, he will just ring you, right? He will ask his team leader who has written this particular code. He will tell that the guy B has written this code, he is there in some other project. So this particular person will ring you, and he will ask, and he will call you that please give me some time, please explain me, I'm not understanding. Now you will come to explain this particular guy. Now you will going to open this code, and you will surprise that even if you are not understanding, okay, most of the part you might have forgot, because at that time what you written, for what purpose, which thing you created, it's very difficult to remember, right? So even for understanding for you also it will be difficult, although you'll be able to do at the end, right? By but the idea is what, it will take a lot of effort, again you will be wasting so much time. So it's always good. And second thing, this guy definitely will not understand, okay, he will require a lot of efforts, and he will continuously will disturb you, and he will also, what he will say at the end, that please, now I am explaining the last time, after this don't call me again. But this is not the solution, right? It was your responsibility to explain your code, right, each and everything, so that if anybody will read, or even yourself, if you are going to read in the future, it will not require much time, it will not waste much time, okay, you can understand very easily. So the code should be written in that way. Standards people say that if you write one line of code, okay, you must write 3 to 4 lines of comments, okay? 3 to 4 lines of comments. So so that each and everybody can understand just simply by looking at your code. So comments, why comments are important? Comments are important for describing the code for ourselves, as well as those people who will going to read our code in the future, okay. So we can stop over here. Remember, we'll be performing the code in this particular online compiler also. We do have a turbo compiler software also, few IDs, right? There also we can perform, it's up to you totally where you want to perform the task, right? I have one turbo compiler also. I'll demonstrate over there also. But this will be, I think, it will be more suitable to all of you. It's online, so you can just go to this particular link, and I mean, this online compiler will be started. Okay. So today, if you have any doubt, please ask me. So what we have covered in this lecture, okay, today we started with the a little bit revision of the yesterday's lecture. Then we started with the data types. We saw different modifiers, size and sign. We saw how to calculate integer type of data and its range, character type of data, then float and double we saw. Then we went ahead with this description of the first program, hello world, right? Each and every line. And then we saw on this particular online compiler how to write the code. Okay. So again, next time whenever you come, please revise, and then it will be much easier for us to go ahead, right? And then we can cover more examples. So if you